What I'm doing at the moment is just setting up the display for the talk I'll be giving in a few minutes. As you can see, I have a range of early medieval footwear based on finds from around Ireland. There's also some other leather artefacts like knife sheaths, sword scabbard, bags, pouches, all the everyday objects that people needed. And the reaction is usually very positive, and people are fascinated to see like what happens when your shoe wears out, because they would only last for about 2 months. I inflicted these shoes on my unfortunate daughter when she was working in the Heritage Park in Ferry Carrig, and that's the result of approximately 8 weeks everyday use of a shoe. Essentially what I'm trying to do is to replicate a find of maybe a shoe or a boot. In the 2 instances I have here, there are 2 shoes. This particular one is typical of the kind of shoe that was worn in Viking Dublin. And this other one, I'm working on making a replica of a shoe which was found close to the monastic site of Glendalough. Obviously they're coming from 2 different traditions, and they have 2 different ways of manufacture. This one is just a single piece of leather, whereas this one is made of a separate sole and upper. There was a bit of a misconception that all Irish footwear were made with one-piece patterns. Here's a very complicated one. Very difficult to get the pattern right, but once you get it right, it makes a very nice, comfortable shoe. But the excavations more recently at Dublin and at places like Drumclay and Deer Park Farms has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that shoes made of several pieces and separate soles and uppers were being made in Irish locations. The interesting thing about these shoes is there were no needles used. The sewing medium, in this case artificial sinew, can be twisted until it becomes extremely tight and quite strong. And it's possible, as I can show you here, to push it through the hole without having to use a needle. And it makes the stitch. What I'm also interested in finding out is the telltale signs that can be left in a piece of leather from different types of seam, different types of construction. Because the one thing about leather is once you put a mark on it, it's there. It can't be removed. And that's where the experimental work actually comes to the fore. To be able to take a piece of leather and from looking at the seams to begin with, to be able to make a reasonably good guess as to where this small piece came from. Was it a garment? Was it a shoe? If it's an extra heavy, thick piece of leather, it could have been part of an armor piece. It might be from a scabbard or a knife sheath. All of that information can be gleaned. You will find something very similar to this in the Viking exhibition as well. There were a lot of a specific style of knife sheath, very popular in Dublin, which seemed to have travelled to York. The colour is generally due to the tanning process. The leather was soaked for months in pits filled with oak bark shavings. Right? The clue maybe is in the name, that the oak bark gives a tan, light brown colour to what went in as a pale flesh. Most of the shoes will be cowhide. For some reason, horse wasn't used. I've made quite a number of shoes at this point, and the fastest I can make a shoe from start to finish is about an hour to an hour and a half. I try to focus on using tools that would have been available in the 10th century. It has to be very simple, all for piercing holes. It's using wax thread and a very sharp knife, and that's it. It's a fairly tough master because it makes you focus and think through a process. When you peel away all our modern tools, get down to your basic toolkit, and to me that's the fun of experimental archaeology. You learn very quickly that there's a very simple way of doing something that can look very complicated.